for using Trick Room teams. He really likes those. One of the best Trick Room players, if not the best Trick Room player in the world. But we're gonna get to see actually Aaron Traylor's team sheet here. A couple of his previous accomplishments, right? He was the regional champion in 2015, Mystery Winter. He also made it to the finals on US National in 2016, World's Top 8 at 2016 that same year, and also most recently Dallas Regional Champion in the Sword and Shield era in 2020, the first regional of Sword and Shield with Dynamax. He won that tournament, and he's using this team with a rain composition. We have the classic Archaludon Pelipper with Basque Legion, and it's paired up with double Fake Out, Relevant Incineroar, and a very, very scary Sword Stance.
The King Gambit, the Black Glasses. I mean, everyone who knows me even a little bit knows that this is like my favorite VGC set currently is the Terra Dark Black Glasses King Gambit. So I'm really excited I get to cast it here in this final game. But yeah, this time the Basque Legion, the Swift Swim is supported by the rain from the Pelipper. You know, we saw a Swift Swim Basque Legion without any rain support before. But this time, not just a counter, but an actual strategy.
And I think it's really important to actually point out this Archaludon is a different kind of Archaludon. It's not a stamina set. It's using a sturdy Power Herb Protect Thunderbolt Dragon Pulse Electric Shot set with Terra Electric. You usually expect a Archaludon in this kind of teams to be Assault Vest with stamina, really bulky body press. But no, actually Aaron decided to go with a more standard Assault Vest on the Rillaboom and something more offensive on the Archaludon. Sturdy means that it will take any damage if it's a full health. It will always survive like a Focus Sash, let's say. And that allows Archaludon to be a little bit, let's say, more offensive, train more offensive, faster, and has a double electric option. If you have been playing Regulation H for a while, you probably know that there are not too many good electric types. Well, this is the best electric type out there. Archaludon with a Terra Electric, double electric move here.
Yeah, and with the Thunderbolt as well. So even if there's no rain, you know, you can still go for electric. And yeah, looking here at Diego's team, who, by the way, is currently playing the semifinals in the Buenos Aires special, we are being told, is playing, of course, the Trick Room team of Meowstic, Torkoal, Indeedee, Armoroak, Gallade, Ursaluna. So aside from the Meowstic at the very top, relatively standard, but Charge Beam as well. You talked before that, like, I don't think we've ever seen that move in BGC, ever.
Yeah, Charge Beam, if you would have told me that we were going to see a Charge Beam Pokemon on stream, I would never imagine that was a Meowstic, first of all. But Charge Beam in general is a move that has a really interesting concept, but I don't think it's like that good because it is only a 50 base power move, but it gives you a 70% chance, I think, if I'm not mistaken, of increasing your special attack by one stage, which is, interesting in theory, but not so good in practice. I would prefer that to be 100%, but that's probably a different story at this point. What we know for sure is that we are going to see a Meowstic, at least on Team Sheet. We have to wait and see if Diego actually brings it to the battle. Expanding Force Meowstic is a different kind of, let's say, Expanding Force user. Diego Ferreira, known for Trick Room, compositions, decided to go for a different Expanding Force user. No Hatterene, no Executor, no Delphox maybe. This Meowstic also has Prankster and has a Prankster in Prison Trick Room. But
That's
usually
really
you want other kind of Prankster
yeah.
moves on a Meowstic, but it's a more offensive one with the Twisted Spoon as well, and the Terra Poison. The Torkoal, Armors, Indeedee with also Imprison, so double Imprison. Hyper Voice, Indeedee has Imprison and Hyper Voice, and Follow Me. Very interesting decision here for Diego. And also a Gallade with Upper Hand, something you don't get to see all the time.
This is really interesting composition here. Like, you have two imprisoned Trick Room Pokemon in a hard Trick Room team. So, yeah, that's really interesting to see. Also, the Charge Beam, being 90% accurate and only having it's decent, 70% chance to boost your special attack. But in a Trick Room team, I would imagine, once you get that set up, you just want to go dish out damage as fast as possible in those 4 turns that you get. You don't really have the time to start going for Charge Beams, trying to get a setup, but perhaps the electric move here is maybe just to hit certain Pokemon that, are a little bit tricky to deal with. Maybe like a Primarina. We've been talking today a little bit about how there's not too much offensive electric types or electric moves. So, maybe that was the idea there. Let's see if we get to see it in this game one that I believe is ready right now. And yeah, I'm hoping we get to see this Meowstic in action. If we don't, still fun to see a Trick Room team like this.
For sure, for sure. We're gonna get into the match in a moment for you guys. I'm really excited to cast this match. Diego is known for being one of the best Trick Room players in the world, and he clearly knows what he's doing if he is able to show up with this kind of unique sets. As we do see a with Arthur, and we also see Aaron responding with an Incineroar Archaladon lead. Remember, this Archaladon is sturdy, so it probably doesn't have a lot of bulk. He might just not have any bulk at all because it's usually trained more offensively. And this Armors has a Psychic Seed, actually, something that we actually didn't mention in the team sheet. It has a Psychic Seed. It doesn't have a way to touch Incineroar. There is no, maybe a Meteor Beam set on the Armors. It has an Expanding Force Flamethrower. Indeed, it also doesn't have many options to use against Incineroar other than Hyper Voice. So this is a really good lead for Aaron, I think. You can just go for a knockoff with your Incineroar if you want. Maybe, just go for a parting shot. And Archaladon is just free to go for a really powerful Electro Shot if he wants to, because both of these Pokemon don't have Protect.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Diego cannot really touch the Archaladon, but he does have an Ursaluna in the back, which is going to make an appearance right here. That Earthquake can hit both of these super effective, and the Archaladon is not a Terra Grass, it is Terra Electric, so it's always going to be weak to ground types. But Armorook here going to go for that Terra Grass in this turn one, trying to get a safe Trick Room setup, I would imagine, for this Ursaluna that just switched in and is going to get a Flame Orb Guts boost after this turn. Is going to be an Electro Shot here from this Archaladon. It does have that Power Herb, so it does not need the rain here to fire off that attack immediately. But into which Pokemon is it going to go? It is going to hit that Armorook, so not going into the ground type switch in Ursaluna here. And a Parting Shot from the Incineroar coming in here. Very nice, in my opinion. Maybe get an Intimidate on this Ursaluna a little bit later. Incineroar still a very good Pokemon here against Diego's team, and that is going to give Aaron an opportunity for a free switch in here. The Rillaboom, not even that safe since, the Indeedee did switch out. So, there is the threat of the Psychic terrain coming right back in if the Grassy terrain is set up here.
Exactly. I like that play a lot from Diego because obviously Diego knows what he's doing, right? He has a way to block the Electro Shot, and he also has a way to just completely nullify this combination of Archaladon, Electro Shot, and Incineroar by going for a Terra Grass, because then you resist the Electro Shot. He also got the special defense boost, so it doesn't even have an item, which is basically going to hinder the power of knockoff if Incineroar decides to go for a knockoff. So that was a really safe Terra from Armarouge. And now Ursaluna doesn't have to wait for its turn to activate the Flame Orb, because it was just brought as a switch in, and that's how the mechanic works. Ursaluna gets the Flame Orb activated immediately upon switching, in this case if it switches mid-turn. And now, as you were mentioning, Indeedee was switch out, so it can actually be brought here. Armors did his job by setting up the Trick Room probably. He probably wants to switch it out so Indeedee can protect Ursaluna from Fake Out, and Ursaluna can get a really powerful attack. But keep in mind, this Archaladon wouldn't go down because it's sturdy, actually.
Yeah, so it can definitely tank at least one hit, and I think, Aaron definitely knows that, you have the sturdy, so if Diego does not switch, your Archaladon is definitely tanking, or if Diego does switch, your Archaladon is definitely staying on the field and surviving one hit, and Aaron, expecting maybe the Indeedee to come in here, switches the Rillaboom right back out. Are we going to see any switches from Diego is the question I'm asking myself. I don't think so. Since the Trick Room is up, I think his switches would have to go first. Intimidate here going onto this Ursaluna. Facade coming out into the switch in. Incineroar barely survives that here, but is going to be able to recover just a little bit of health with the Citrus Berry. And the Armorook is still going to have an opportunity to go for a Flamethrower here, also into the Incineroar, but because of the resist, takes that very, very well. And now another Electric Shot coming out here for this Archaladon. The Power Herb has been used up already, so now it will have to wait another turn to fire off that attack.
Yeah. That was a really unfortunate timeout for Aaron. I think if you guys watch from home, Aaron actually timeout. He was trying to decide what to do, and that's usually one of the reasons why I personally don't like to use those moves in the first slot, because you are not guaranteed to always hit that move in the situation where you don't want to. So unfortunately for Aaron, he timeout. He couldn't select the other move in time, so our Chaladon is now forced to just lock into that. And I don't think you can even control where that. In this case, Electroshell would go into. So there's a chance it goes into the Ursa Luna, unless I'm mistaken. No, it just
Ooh.
went into the Armor Rouge, which is good for Aaron. Armor Rouge, even though, yeah, it's taking some damage, still looking pretty comfortably there because it's a Grass type with the Psychic Seed boost that he got previously from that Indeedee. So in the previous turn, Diego probably expected the Archaladon to protect. Rillaboom is a Pokemon that doesn't have Protect, so attacking into that slot with Flamethrower and Facade was enough for a knockout. Of course, if you fake out the Ursa Luna, then Flamethrower hits you. If you fake out into the Armors, then Facade hits you. But actually, the Incineroar switching was really great here for Aaron because that intimidated the Ursa Luna, hindering its damage output. But at the same time, Ursa Luna is really strong. And from 50%, Incineroar is probably going to go down from another Facade here.
Yeah, Aaron seems to be in a little bit of a tricky position now, and it's not surprising that a timeout like that, as unfortunate as it is, can happen because really none of his plays are really safe here. There's no play that always lets him be in a good position. So, a little bit tricky here. The Archaladon gonna go for a Protect, does not want to take a ground move from the Ursa Luna, is gonna be an Earthquake here. The Grass type Armorogue on the side will take that very, very nicely. But the Incineroar surviving with just 4 HP. Is it gonna get knocked out? No, it's gonna get a parting shot off here on this Ursa Luna, which is now at -2 attack. So that is gonna help Aaron tank these hits a little bit better while the Trick Room expires. And gets another free switch in here. You could bring the Rillaboom back in here for maybe a Fake Up, but you'd always have to respect the Indeedee in the back, so you might want to opt for the Pelipper instead. And Aaron does bring that Pokemon in here, sets up the Rain, and that of course could be threatened by maybe a Torkoal in the back, but we don't know yet. I believe we don't know the 4th Pokemon on Diego's side yet. Flamethrower is going to go into the protecting Archaladon. And the instant surviving means that Aaron might be able to get off another Intimidate later.
Yeah, that was a really interesting play from Diego because the grassy terrain was active and Earthquake's power is halved in grassy terrain. That Ursa Luna was also -1 if I'm not mistaken. So it was a -1 halved power Earthquake because of the grassy terrain, but Diego probably still felt that it was going to be enough to pick up the Incineroar from that range. And unfortunately for him, the Citrus Berry, the previous recovery the Citrus Berry gave to Incineroar allowed him to survive. And that was crucial to get that parting shot off. And now it's against the wall because you can just stall the last turn of Trick Room. I think this is the last turn of Trick Room by going for a safe protect. And also Pelipper managed to got his Focus Sash intact in this switching. So I wouldn't be surprised if you just protect Pelipper switching to Instant here. Or maybe you just want to go for the offense with Pelipper. That's obviously an option as well. We do see a Torkoal switching here. Obviously, that's really important for Diego to confirm that. We kind of had to imagine, right? It was a Weather War at the end of the day, so Torkoal was the last one. Making sure that Ursa Luna doesn't take a wild type attack, and obviously also decreasing the accuracy from Hurricane if he want to go into that. And Ursa Luna now is -2, but the Incineroar in front of it is just 4 HP, so it's going to be easily KO'd by this Headlong Rush. But it didn't go for a Facade, so it's actually reducing its special defense and physical defense. So if this Pelipper goes for a Weather Bolt into that slot, even though it is a Fire-type Weather Bolt now, with the -1 for the special defense, is it going to be enough? It's not. Ursa Luna takes that pretty comfortably.
Yeah, that is the power of Trick Room Pokemon, that you don't need to invest in speed, so you can invest in both offense and also defense, and that Ursa Luna, even with the defense drops, takes that Weather Ball. And of course, okay, the rain is gone now, which is nice for Diego, but you have a Torkoal and an Ursa Luna on the field here, and Trick Room, I believe, has run out or is almost running out. Yes. So you have 2 very slow Pokemon on the field here, and this Ursa Luna is like -2 or 3. I believe it got intimidated twice and parting shot at once, if I remember correctly. So it's really not doing as much damage as you would like it to do. But, you still have the possibility to maybe try and switch in the Indeedee again, or, also the Armorogue and try to get another Trick Room going.
Yeah, this turn is really important for Aaron because even though Torkoal is the slowest Pokemon on the field, it's full health, and it's a really bulky Pokemon. Pelipper doesn't have any water move to hit it. Hurricane is not necessarily a strong option as well because it can miss. It has a 50% chance of missing in the sun, if I'm not mistaken. So you can just go for a switch out here if you want, and just attack with Torkoal, which is I think what Diego is doing. Is going for the Indeedee to block any potential fake out from the Rillaboom, and just going for a really powerful attack with Torkoal doesn't sound like a bad idea. Even though this Rillaboom does have the option to Terastallize to not be weak to a potential fire type attack, but we're actually going to have to wait a little bit to see if Torkoal is going to attack. Diego is opting for a double switch, switching also the armors in here in the Torkoal slot, as we do see a Terastallization probably from the Rillaboom, exactly to just be able to survive any fire type attack from that Torkoal if the Torkoal decides to attack, which was not the case. But Rillaboom decided to opt for that Terastallization just to be safe, and now it's going for a Wood Hammer into what was the Ursaluna. Without terrain, it's still doing around 65% to that Indeedee to switch in. And the Pelipper is going to go for a Hurricane. Doesn't connect. It does. 50% chance into the Indeedee. Indeedee goes down. That's a clean Oko now with the combination of Wood Hammer and Hurricane.
I was wondering for a second if, because I was imagining the Hurricane was coming, and a part of me thought, oh, maybe Aaron targeted the Torkoal, and that would have gone into the Armor Rogue right there. But it takes out the Indeedee, and the Armor Rogue here it does still have access to Trick Room, but without redirection now, how easy is it really going to be for you to set that up? You might have to hope for a Hurricane to miss, which in Sun it is it's not 100% accurate, so there is still a chance here this game can still go either way.
Yeah, we have Armors here in the field. As you said, Armors could have taken that Hurricane if Aaron opted to attack that slot, which he didn't. But now you can do it. However, do you want to risk it? I don't think you have any other option here because Armors is going to go for a Trick Room if you don't attack it. So you have to respect it. And remember that this Armors actually lost its special defense boost by switching out. So now I think if you connect the Hurricane, it's probably going to be enough for Armors to go down. You have to hope for that 50% chance, as we do see the
Hurricane be a game-deciding Hurricane.
Missing.
It misses. Oh,
it misses into the Armors as Torkoal goes for an Eruption, full power Eruption, getting the one-hit KO into that Archaludon. That was, I think, around 70%. So it's not technically a one-hit KO, but getting the KO there on the Archaludon. And Armors, because it dodged that 50% Hurricane, is finally able to get a second Trick Room now. And without any way for Aaron to reset the weather, this Torkoal is definitely going to be in such a good spot now during the sun weather. There is the option, of course, for a fake out here, but there's no Indeedee to maybe set up the Psychic Terrain again. This Rillaboom now is, in theory, good into the Torkoal because obviously it doesn't take fire type attacks, super effective fire type attacks because of its Terastallization, but there's an Ursaluna in the back that can hit you super hard. However, Ursaluna, I think, is in range of Grassy Glide, so it's coming down to the wire here.
Yeah, that was probably a game-deciding Hurricane turn there. Pelipper is going to go for a Wide Guard here, so try and protect from any eruptions, and Torkoal does go for the Eruption, so protects both of his Pokemon here in this turn. The Armor Rogue can easily go for an Expanding Force. The Psychic Terrain being gone means that it is a single target move. Is going to hit that Pelipper here and take it out. And now it is just Rillaboom on its own against 3 of Diego's Pokemon. And, the Trick Room is up. Does get the high horsepower, but, Torkoal, a very, very tanky Pokemon. So managed to, take that hit very nicely.
Yeah, it took a little bit more than 50% with the Grassy Terrain. Probably is going to be out of range of another one. And I think this Torkoal, does not have any ground move. It's actually able, it has Weatherbolt, Solar Beam, and Clear Smog. It doesn't have Earth Power. And Diego's actually opting to switch out the Torkoal into Ursaluna and just going for a Sun Boosting Flamethrower, even though Rillaboom has the Salves, even though it's actually a Terra Fire Rillaboom now. Oh, and Ursaluna survives that. I think that was a really, really good play from Diego because he was aware the sun was going to run out in this next turn. So he basically said, you know what? I think Armors can win this game. You cannot touch Armors that much because you don't have U-turn, for example. So I don't care if Ursaluna goes down as long as I can keep my Torkoal for a later turn with the sun and the flamethrower. I think 3 flamethrowers is gonna be enough. Grassic Light is gonna come down. Is gonna be able to kill that 1 HP probably Ursaluna, which would have gone down anyways because of the flame orb. Residual damage, and as I've been saying, Armors is probably feeling really comfortable here to clean the game with that expanding force. That is not quite enough to get the KO just yet, but at this point, Rillaboom is just against the wall.
Yeah, makes sense to reset the sun here for Torkoal because you're attacking this Rillaboom with fire moves, and you don't want to risk anything and make sure you get the most amount of damage possible to really safely take it out. That Ursaluna, I think Diego realizes, whether it takes the high horsepower or not, doesn't really matter in the situation, and will be able to take this game 1 here against Aaron Traylor.
Yeah, as we did see Aaron going for the forfeit button there, because he understands there's nothing he can do. Maybe he's taking the time also to think what can be done differently in the next game. I think in terms of the Pokemon brought, I think all the Pokemon that Aaron brought are theoretically really good in this matchup, right? You have Incineroar, Rillaboom, which you can need in different scenarios of or different contexts of the battle. You want Incineroar to switch into the fire moves. You also want Incineroar to intimidate your Saloon if possible. It's really good into DD. You also want Rillaboom to get rid of terrain, psychic terrain, and maybe have the option to go for fake out. You want Pelipper to have the rain against a Torkoal team. And Archaludon, it's a really offensive Pokemon that can try to apply pressure on the opponent. So in terms of what was brought from Aaron's side, I think the lineup was correct. Maybe he is trying to rethink what he could have done differently in that game. Maybe a different turn, that turn that the Archaludon actually time out and went for the Electroshot. He could have gone for a Dragon Pulse or something, would have been more efficient in that turn. Or maybe he's just thinking about a different order on how to approach things. But I wonder if Aaron is deciding maybe I bring King Gambit this time and try to play a different kind of game without Archaludon and just try to, position the King Gambit, maybe with a Swords Dance, go for Sucker Punches. If I can, get terrain control, that can be very, very useful. Or if he just wants to go back to the Archaludon, Pelipper, Incineroar, Rillaboom lineup.
Yeah, I think the 4 Pokemon that Aaron brought were good Pokemon, and I think they were the correct 4. And I think it was a rather close match. Had that Hurricane from Pelipper connected into the Armorogue, the end game would have looked completely different. So it is really just maybe 1 or 2 turns differently that could have really turned the game around. And maybe Aaron probably realizes that. So let's see what kind of adjustments we see in this game too from both sides, because also looking at Diego Springs, I think he also realizes that it was a very close game, so maybe he wants to make some adjustments as well. It's going to be the Indeedee Armorogue lead here versus the Rain Pelipper and the Archaludon.
Really interesting approach from Aaron, just leading the Pelipper right off the bat, knowing that that's probably going to mean the Torkoal can switch in at some point and reset your weather. But I wouldn't be surprised, because Incineroar matches up really well into Armor DD, that you are leading with the Pelipper immediately just to switch out probably, or pressure, saying like, okay, if you Terrasalize, I can double into you with a Hurricane or Weather Ball, or I can just anticipate your Torkoal switch and bring my Incineroar. Really interesting approach. Leading Rain against a team like this is something that sometimes can be, a really effective. As we do see the Indeedee switching out, I wonder if this into the Torkoal, it's not going to remember this Archaludon has the Power Herb, so it doesn't need the Rain to actually go for that really powerful Electroshot. So that's probably going to be maybe a 1-hit KO into the Torkoal. I wouldn't be surprised if that Electroshot went into the Indeedee. And we do see the Armors going for the Terra. Basically, Diego saying, I'm fine with that Hurricane chance, because this time around, I do have my Psychic Seed boost. So maybe Diego is aware that he wouldn't go down from a Hurricane, as we do see the Electroshot. And I think this is going into the Torkoal slot. Is it going to be enough to KO is the question.
And if it's not, maybe the Pelipper follows up with a move. The Torkoal does hang on after that Electroshot, barely. The Weather Ball follow-up, will it take up the Torkoal? I'm guessing it will. And that is Diego's weather control taken out. Really, really good for Aaron here. I think he realized that it's impossible for him to stop the Trick Room, so I might as well, double up into this Indeedee, and if the Torkoal comes back in here again, I have the Power Herb, I'm not an Assault Vest Archaludon, the Power Herb here being huge, taking out the Sunsetter. Ursaluna does come in here now, but it does not have Flame Orb activated yet, so, if you can switch out Pelipper here, bring the Rain back, that is going to be great for Aaron to have that weather control.
Yeah, and this is one of those situations where having Protect on Archaludon is really nice because you can use that to stall a Trick Room turn. You can use that and switch the Pelipper out to reposition into one of your Fake Out Mons. Of course, as you mentioned, Ursaluna not having the Flame Orb Jet activated is going to hinder its damage output, but I wouldn't be surprised if this Ursaluna just goes for an attack. There's no reason to Protect, even if you're not doing like Guts, let's say boosted damage. You still need to damage things, right? Because
it's
you
still
are
damage.
against the timer. Trick Room is going up. You still have 4 turns to attack. So let's see what this Ursaluna decides to do. Like technically, you have the option to double protect also with your Pelipper if you want. But as we are seeing here, Aaron decided to switch out the Pelipper into Rillaboom because probably he thinks resetting terrain and having the weather, the rain for later is going to be very useful. As we do see our Archaludon going for a protect as expected. And I'm wondering what kind of decision Diego went in this turn. Headlong Rush into the Archaludon. And is this a Flamethrower into the Pelipper? Let's see.
Is it? It is, but not into the Pelipper. Double up into the Archaludon. Oh. So Aaron calling that correctly, negating any damage being done in this turn. And Rillaboom coming out here means that, he does have to respect the Indeedee in the back once again, but that could also be Aaron maybe trying to bait Diego a little bit, and, Diego didn't take the bait in the first game, so, this turn especially, I think is going to be interesting to see, are both players going to make some adjustments here, or are they just going to stay in with both Pokemon? Yeah, Ursaluna is just going to stay in, going to go for a Protect here, and Rillaboom is going to click Fake Out into that Pokemon.
Wow, no Indeedee is switching to block the Fake Out. Both players assuming that they are aware that they cannot just lose momentum here. So decided to stay in with both. No Archaludon switching to maybe get the rain up, and Rillaboom not going for an attack, which is going for the Fake Out. The Flamethrower, this is what I was saying before, is really nice for Archaludon to have that security. You have the Sturdy active, you have the Protect options. You were able to actually stop that double target from Ursaluna Armorage in the previous turn, and I think Archaludon went for an attack into the Ursaluna that just protected. So it's a really nice also defensive play from Diego, protecting the Ursaluna, letting the Armorage attack, because Armorage technically is not threatened much by any of this Pokemon, right? The Psychic Seed boost, the Grass typing, so Rillaboom cannot do much to it. As we do see Rillaboom switching out now into Incineroar, I think, and I wouldn't be surprised if this Archaludon goes for a Protect this time around.
Yeah, possibly. Both players hit a double up into a Protect from the opponent, but I feel like it worked out better for Diego here. This Facade is Incineroar that switched in. Just so much damage, even after the Intimidate. And this Archaludon, it's taken so much damage now. It's lost its Sturdy. The Flamethrower follow-up here into the Incineroar. I think Diego was also predicting the Protect just as you were on the Archaludon, but no, it goes straight for that Dragon Pulse, so not falling for that this time.
Yeah, great play from Aaron, saying like, you know what, the Protect is so obvious. I already protected in a previous turn and you double targeted my Archaludon, so I think you're not going to fall for that twice in a row. So you're probably going to attack into the other slot, which is going to give me an opportunity to do some damage here. Even though it's not a KO into the Ursaluna, it's a very respectable 60% damage into it. And Incineroar with the combination of its Intimidate and the Citrus Berry, which is an item that is usually not commonly seen on Incineroar nowadays because a lot of players are opting for something like safety goggles. But Incineroar just proven that it's great with the Citrus Berry, just allowing Incineroar to survive things that it wouldn't be able to survive otherwise, like in this case, a double. And Archaludon being able to get that Dragon Pulse on the Ursaluna. We do see an Indeedee switching here to block a potential Fake Out, but I wouldn't be surprised if this Incineroar didn't go for a Fake Out and just went for an attack this time around.
It is going to be a knockup into the switch in. Indeed, he is going to still survive that. The Rocky Helmet not taking out the Incineroar quite yet. Armorok going for a flamethrower into the protecting Archaludon. Each turn right now is just insane to me, and the sunlight is gonna go away now. The trick room is over, and now this Archaludon is free to go for, a Dragon Pulse into either the Indeedee, but, won't be able to take out the Armorok, and there is the Follow Me threat from the Indeedee. So I think Armorok is still in a pretty good position here.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to get confirmation on the speed interaction. This Incineroar was actually going first during Trick Room than the Armorous, so it's actually slower, so you can use that to its advantage during Trick Room. Indeedee switching out for the Ursaluna, saying like, you know what, I cannot lose Indeedee because you have Rillaboom in the bag. I do want to keep my Psychic Terrain Pressure active. And Incineroar understanding they cannot do much to this Armorous, instead of attacking it, remember that Armorous has the Flash Fire ability, so it cannot be hit by a Flare Blitz, even though it's a Grass type. Decided to just go for a Parting Shot, reposition in, bring the Pelipper. I would imagine this Armorous here is clicking Trick Room because the Trick Room just ended, and this is a Trick Room team, so you want to be in Trick Room. There it is, the Trick Room. But Pelipper is still looking really healthy, has the Focus Sash active, has also the option to go for a Wide Guard to block, expand new forces. And it's going to be really tough here, this endgame for Diego, I think.
Yeah, I think, the Pelipper having the wide guard means that you can just go for that all day long, but Pelipper is first going to opt for a Protect. Makes sense as well, in my opinion. Archaludon, even with the rain, it's not an Assault Vest Archaludon, and without it, its special defenses aren't that great, so a Flamethrower or even a Hyper Voice is enough to take it out. But once the Rillaboom comes back in here now, then this Pelipper is going to be a great supporter, even in Trick Room. Both of these Pokemon are still pretty decent in this endgame against Diego's Indeedee and the Armorok.
Yeah, that Incineroar survival is huge, honestly, because even with the Rocky Helmet chip damage, it was able to hang on with 6 HP. That's the power of Citrus Berry Incineroar, guys. Like, Safety Goggles is a really consistent item on Incineroar, but if you're not facing any Amoonguss, sometimes you feel like you are just wasting your item. And Aaron decided to just go for Citrus Berry in this case, which is proven to be really valuable for him, as we do see the Rillaboom going for a Grass Glide into Indeedee. And this time, there was no Torkoal switching, so the Hurricane is going to be fully accurate against this Grass type Armorous, which I think still has the Psychic Seed boost. I'm not able to remember if it switched out and lost it, but let's see if this Hurricane is enough to pick up the KO on that Armorous. It's not, because it did have the Psychic Seed boost, and I think there was a chance to survive that even without the Psychic Seed boost, I think, based on the damage this Hurricane did. But at this point, I forgot the Torkoal was already KO'd, actually, so there was no way to reset the sun anyways. Armor is doing negligible damage with Flamethrower. It was Parting Shotted. It's in the rain. Torkoal is not there to support that even more. So Hurricane from Pelipper is enough to pick up the KO on this Armorous. Great game by Aaron. Tying this set 1-1 against Diego Ferreira, one of the most stronger players, Trick Room players in the world with this team. And I'm really hyped to see, once again, a Weather War match for you guys, where Pelipper and Torkoal are both in, on your screens to, provide this quality battles with, weather control, terrain control, positioning, switching out, anticipating to what the opponent is going to do. This is a really high caliber match, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's already twice that the Citrus Berry Incineroar had a clutch survival. Even though the first game did go to Diego, it still managed to help Aaron out a lot. And as you said, that is the power of Citrus Berry Incineroar. And I think especially in World Cup, when you're not playing a regional where you're locked into the same team for 2 days of many best of threes, if it's just one best of three for World Cup, it makes sense to say, okay, what is the chance that I'm really going to play against Amoonguss? And if I don't play against Amoonguss, my Incineroar just has no items. So I'd rather have that Citrus Berry, so I always have a useful item no matter what.
Yeah, I think that's really important to put in context here. Like, obviously, this is a tournament where, like, you have almost like a week to prepare against your opponent, so you probably already can take some risks like this, saying like, okay, I don't think you're going to bring a Amoonguss because you're not known for using a Amoonguss, for example. Let's say that could be a hypothetical, case of analysis from both players, just to understand who they are playing against. And as you said, you're not locking a team for like 9 rounds on a regional where like there's a higher chance that you're going to face a Amoonguss. So, Aaron decided to just go go for a more consistent Citrus Berry Incineroar, which proved to be extremely good in this match because it basically allowed him to win the game with that extra recovery that it had. So we're going to go into the next game. This is game number 3 of this set, so I'm really excited to see what these two players are going to do to, approach this finals game of the set.
I'm gonna go ahead and assume that both players have brought the same 4 Pokemon once again, because I think they worked very well in both game 1 and 2 on both sides. It's really just all about, making the correct calls in the correct turns. And I think Aaron did that brilliantly in that game 2, not falling for the obvious protect and just going for an attack. And it is really gonna come down to that in this third game right here.
Yeah, this is a mind game because, there could be technically a follow me here. The Armors can Terra. You can technically go for a Terra with Armors, Expanding Force, and Trick Room with Indeedee. You can switch out either Armors or Indeedee into Torkoal or Ursaluna. One is going to block the Electroshot. The other is going to get rid of the Rain. So it's a really interesting turn 1. And actually, we're not seeing any switch out here. We are going to see a Terastallization from our Charlodon just to get that extra power. Remember, guys, this is a sturdy Power Herb. Terra Electric, our Charlodon, is not holding the Assault Vest, so it can be trained a little bit more offensive and faster. As we do see just a safe Follow Me from the Indeedee. I think Indeedee, it's not going to go down from this Terra Electric Electroshot, even though it's not a Psychic Seed Indeedee. The Psychic Seed is actually on the Armors. Indeedee is known for being a very bulky Pokemon. So let's see how much this Charlodon Terra Electric can do to the Indeedee. Because if Indeedee goes down, maybe with a critical hit, then the Weather Ball is going to go into the Armors.
Ooh, barely hangs on here, but I'm guessing the Pelipper is going to follow up with a Weather Ball, going to take out that Indeedee. It's tricky for Diego because in the last game, he lost his Weather Setter really fast, and now he lost his Terrain right away. And, both are very crucial for him. He does once again get the Trick Room off, which is going to be awesome for the Ursaluna in the... But, yeah, if the Grassy Terrain comes in now, you cannot reset the Psychic Terrain ever again this game.
Yeah, that was a really interesting turn 1. I think it was really good for Aaron just to get, out of the way immediately. A really important tool from Diego's team, the Indeedee, which is the only way that Diego can reset Psychic Terrain. This is a really, really tricky matchup for both players because both players have terrain control. Both players have, weather to maybe have that on their side. And Aaron managed to do a great job in this turn 1 of this game 3 by eliminating the Indeedee immediately. Gallade actually makes an appearance here. It's not the Ursaluna Torkoal combination. Yeah, that is confirmed. So I imagine the last one is going to be Torkoal. But Gallade now is able to provide some, decent offensive option here because Gallade does way better into Incineroar, which is, as we have been saying, one of the crucial reasons why Aaron managed to win that game too. Now with Gallade, which cannot be intimidated because of the Clear Amulet, you can actually try to go a little bit more for offense. But one important thing to mention is that this Gallade, even if Diego loses Psychic Terrain, does have a way to block Fake Out because it has a move Upper Hand.
That is correct, and we are going to see a double protect here. Yeah, I was wrong. We do get to see the Gallade this time, so maybe no Torkoal in the back this time. Sacred Sword here into the protecting Archaludon. Armorook is also going to get an opportunity to go for a Flamethrower, but also that is just going to go into the protect of the Archaludon. So I'm guessing Diego's very happy that Aaron just went for a double protect and did not attack with the Pelipper, because, Hurricane here into Gallade could have maybe ended that game right there.
Yeah, even though Gallade is known for being a very bulky Pokemon on the special side, I think has a great special defense. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gallade can actually survive a Hurricane. But now the crucial thing here is both Pokemon from Aaron's side have technically the option to survive at least at 1 HP because Pelipper is carrying the Focus Sash and Archaludon has this 30 active. So if you want to eliminate one of these Pokemon, you have to commit into a double target into either because otherwise you're not going to get a KO into anything. And at this point, your Trick Room turns are running out, so you need to go for the offense. You need to try to double into something, as we do see Rillaboom switching in here to have something, more consistent that is not weak to Sacred Sword like Incineroar is. And even though it is weak to Flamethrower, this Armor wouldn't hit it that hard. I assume because it's on the rain, and we didn't see a Torkoal switching yet. There is a Terastallization on the armors, going for a Grass Terra, maybe trying to, just play the mind game of like saying, like, you know what, you're not gonna Hurricane my armors, you're gonna Weather Ball my armors, so I'm just gonna go for it. There's a Psychic Cut into the Pelipper.
Ooh.
Let's see if that's a double. It is a double, but it's in the rain.
Double
It's
up.
not enough.
Oh,
Rillaboom
the
Surprise
burn! No!
gets the burn.
I was going to say that, if the Hurricane had gone into the Gallade, then it would have maybe been in like a Grassy Glide range. But it's going to get off an attack from the Archaludon, take a little bit more than half. And now this burn on the boom means that, these Grassy Glides into the Gallade, might not be enough to maybe finish it off. Without the burn, who knows? I guess it would have still been close. Gallade is a very tanky Pokemon, as you said. But it would have been an easy target since it does not have Move Protect on it. But then again, as you mentioned, Trick Room is up. It could have also gone for Upper Hand. So yeah, it's mind games all around right now.
Yeah, it's mind games all around. This Rillaboom is pretty much useless in terms of damage, but it can still provide some utility. It has the option to go for a Fake Out. Can be used as a switch out later if he wants. There is a Fake Out. No upper hand here on the Gallade. Instead, it's just going for a Sacred Sword, trying to eliminate that Rillaboom from play. And I really like the play that Aaron went for in the last turn. He didn't go for an Electro Shot, which would have done way more damage than Thunderbolt, because he was respecting probably the potential Torkoal switch, and given that I think the Power Herb was already consumed. But I might be wrong, actually, because I think Pelipper
I don't
was on the
think it
field
has. Yeah.
when Armors went for the Electro Shot. So it did have the option to go for the the Electro Shot. It is still active, as we can see on the screen, but instead he decided to just keep it. Maybe he said, like, okay, if you bring Torkoal now, I'm not going to be necessarily wasting my, let's say, Power Herb. I want to keep it active for later. So Thunderbolt is probably going to be enough to put you in range of another one. As we see the Ursaluna, there's no Torkoal. Surprisingly, we were expecting the Torkoal in a match like this, and Diego said, you know what, for this time around, I'm not bringing the Torkoal. You probably have too many ways to counter my Torkoal with your Incineroar, with your Pelipper. So we instead see an Ursaluna that does not have the Flamethrower activated yet.
Yeah, and I guess Aaron is probably very happy that the Gallade went for an attack into the Rillaboom and just finished it off. If it had gone into the Archaludon and this Rillaboom would have still been on the field, burned, and already Fake Out have burned, it wouldn't have really been able to do a lot. But now Incineroar coming in here with the Intimidate is going to help this Archaludon take that Facade very nicely, without the Guts boost, also doing less damage than you might be used to. And now the rain is gone, and I believe Trick Room is in its last turn. No, it is ending this turn, so my bad on that. And yeah, the Archaludon here. I mean, the Ursaluna is still looking scary here. It is at -1, but the Archaludon, the only way it can touch it is Dragon Pulse, and it is going to go into the Armorogue. Not enough for the KO right here, but Knockoff will be able to finish it off. And I'm guessing we're going to see a headlong rush here, and either target is good here.
Yeah, I think this is probably game over already for Diego. He is aware of that, because there was no way he could have, let's say, avoided the Armors was going to get double targeted there, because Armors doesn't actually have Protect. So it's a pretty safe play from Aaron, just doubling into the Trick Room setter to deny a potential second Trick Room from going off. And especially because, you have your Pelipper in the back. This Armor is already committed into the Terastallization, so the Ursaluna cannot Terastallize. So I just bring my Pelipper, which has the Focus Sash active. I go for Weather Ball. You don't have any way to avoid this Weather Ball. There's no Torkoal anymore. You are down to your last Pokemon. So the only way I can somehow lose this game is if I let you set up a second Trick Room. So very smart play from Aaron, just playing safe, doubling the Armors, and now you can easily just double into the Ursaluna for potentially a KO. And Diego decided to cancel the match for